All right, fastest 15 minutes on social media, fastest 15 minutes on the internet, fastest 15 minutes anywhere. And my name is Judson Powell. I am the CEO of Capri Television. Capri, Khepprii, two eyes. So you can see if you are on the Roku channel, please check us out. It's free. You don't have to pay anything. Just add our channel, Capri, to your Roku channel lineup. Anyway, enough of that. I want to talk about this presidential election. That's what I really want to talk about. And the reason why I really want to talk about this presidential election is because it's very crucial. And I know for a fact that there is a concerted effort to keep African Americans from voting and black people in general from voting, whoever is registered to vote or whatever. They are trying to keep us from voting, and they're putting out all kinds of propaganda and rhetoric that is lies. Now, my thing is, I get it, it's politics or whatever, but this whole thing with the propaganda and the lies, it's like it's destroying and it's killing everything, because you are lying if you say that people did not fight and die. There were court cases and all kinds of stuff. When I was in law school, I studied all about all of the cases that led up to the Civil Rights Movement, the Civil Rights Act, all of those type of things, the Voting Rights Act. There were all kinds of cases and everything else that led up to this. There were fights all the time, and people were constantly flooding the courts with these cases because they were being discriminated against because of the color of their skin, period. And one of the main focuses of the civil rights movement was the Voting Rights Act and having the right to vote. Most of the marches were either the result of things that had to do with voting, or things that had to do with employment, or or treatment that you were receiving during employment. So most of those cases, that's what they were about. They were about voting and voting rights. And the poll, look, let me tell you something. If they didn't think that voting was important, or voting really wasn't that important, then why is that part of this 2025 agenda? Why is that? Why do they want to be able to, why do they want a dictatorship where your vote doesn't count? Why do they want all of these different things, these policies to wipe away capitalism and to wipe away democracy and basically the way that the government works as we know it? Right now, the Supreme Court, we have a rogue Supreme Court. The Supreme Court is not operating in the way that the Supreme Court was originally set up to operate. And it's been there has been corruption in the past on the Supreme Court. This is not the first time that the Supreme Court has gone rogue and has decided that they were going to legislate from the bench, which is what they're doing right now. All of the affirmative action, the Roe v. Wade, and all of these other cases, even this presidential immunity thing, all of these cases are, first of all, they're not following judicial procedure, and most of these cases probably should have never made it to the Supreme Court where they could decide on it in the first place. And in years past, they probably would not have. The Supreme Court has never, ever, ever, ever been about taking people's rights away. It has always been about giving people rights. The people that are the most disenfranchised groups, all of those groups that don't, or that are discriminated against because of either their race, creed, color, sexual orientation, nationality, all of these things are supposed to be protected by the decisions that the Supreme Court makes, because it is to protect. They're supposed to protect. They're supposed to protect certain classes of people who are unable to protect themselves, so that the people that have all the money and power, right, cannot just run roughshod over everybody else just because they have money and power, or it's to give you rights that you didn't have in the past because of racism, discrimination, et cetera, et cetera. So our laws, that's how they're set up. And the Supreme Court is set up to make sure that people's rights are guaranteed, not to take their rights away. That's not, I mean, because, okay, so you are still hurting a protected class of people, or you're unprotecting, which is what affirmative action did. The decision in affirmative action, it took away people's rights to protection under the law, which is not how it's supposed to work. The cases, and even with things like and now things are coming up, Loving versus Virginia, the Supreme Court case that made interracial marriage legal, or anything else, things that made the LGBTQ community able to be married, and all of that. All of those laws are now, if they haven't been done away with, they're in danger of being done away with, because the Supreme Court, the courts are supposed to protect the people that can't protect themselves, because they are in a minority class. They are minorities. That's why they get these protections under the law. And so the powers that be, they don't want you to have these powers. See, and it's not for them. They're already rich. They're already wealthy. It's not, to them, it's not about money. It's about power and being able to control how everybody else lives. And that's why, even as the CEO of Capri Television right now, I am telling you, vote blue. Do not vote, these people, because they want to do away with your ability to be able to think, read, write, whatever. They don't want you to think about anything. That's why they want to do away with social media. They don't want you to have the ability to be able to hook up and communicate with each other, no matter what you're saying. And it has nothing to do with the message. It has to do with the medium. Okay? The message, everybody is not going to agree 100%, right? But everybody should have the right to their opinion and the right to do the things that they want to do, to what does it say? Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Well, if I've got to follow your religion, then that interferes with my life, with my liberty, and my pursuit of happiness, because I'm not the same as you. We're not monolithic. No, nobody is. And we fight as black people so that we're not considered to be all the same or all alike. And that's true throughout the entire country. Everybody is not the same or not alike. And all of this stuff about canceling people and taking our freedoms are being eroded little by little by these PACs, these political action committees, these political action groups, these billionaires that have money to influence elections, to influence all of these different things, and to keep people off of the Supreme Court. Now, how do we fix the Supreme Court? And here's the other thing. And I'm not 100%, of course, I'm not 100% happy with the Democratic Party. No, I'm not. But here's the thing. I would rather them be in power than somebody walking around talking about taking everybody's rights away and creating a dictatorship. That's just where I am. And the other thing is, and I just believe that Donald Trump versus Joe Biden, Donald Trump, in my opinion, is morally reprehensible. That's just the view I have of him. He has done things to women, sexually. He has been found liable for sexual assault. He has been found guilty of 34 felonies. He is still currently, despite all of his other stuff, he's still the only thing that he has to hold on to is the fact that if he gets elected president, then he can grant himself immunity, pardon himself. I don't know. And now that with this whole thing about immunity, which is another thing that the Supreme Court didn't consider, is like, well, Joe Biden and the Democrats are in power right now. So what if they decide that they're just gonna, have an insurrection and they're gonna do whatever? What's good for the goose is good for the gander. So now you're gonna let all of these people that try to overturn our government, you're going to allow them to to run free and to run roughshod. And we have things, provisions in our Constitution that allow for redress of grievances. It's in there. You don't have to have a insurrection. You can if you have enough votes, okay, then go and call for a constitutional convention. It can be done. It's in the Constitution. There's a way to do it. But back to what I was saying about the Supreme Court, one of the ways that you can correct all of this stuff that's going wrong with the Supreme Court is what? Is by packing the Supreme Court, because there's no law saying, that limits the number of justices. So what you do is you pass a law and you nominate enough justices so that you take back balance of the court. So you get enough conservative and moderate judges to balance out all of those conservatives that are not voting according to legal principle or legal precedent, or are not even following the rules about granting certiorari to cases in the first place. They're not even allowing the judicial process to take place at the different levels. They're not allowing it to go through the federal court system, and then they're not even reading the things that these federal judges at the lower levels are writing. They're sitting up there listening to these cases at the appellate levels or at these lower federal courts, and they're just ignoring whatever they're saying. They say, okay, yeah, we'll review it. Why? That's not how it's supposed to work. That's not how it was set up. And then finally, all of this stuff is vehemently against the founding fathers and the Constitution. Is not nothing that all of this stuff about the church and state, they're putting the 10 Commandments back in the classroom and all of that kind of stuff. That's not supposed to be there. Okay, we get it. A lot of people, and that's fine. If that's what you want to teach in your house, or you want to go to your church, synagogue, mosque, whatever, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. In fact, that's encouraged by the Constitution, that everybody should be allowed to worship and praise and pray and do whatever they want to do in their own way, not prescribed by the government. That's just not the way that the founding fathers wanted it to be set up, and they didn't want the government controlling people. Why would they say land of the free, home of the brave, life, liberty, pursuit of happiness, all of that, all of those things. And then the other thing is, as far as all the immigration stuff that's going on, the founding fathers intended for this country to end up being a melting pot of people from all over the world. That's what they find. And slavery, and the quote Kanye West, slavery was a choice, but not the way he was saying it. Slavery was a choice of the founding fathers because they knew that they needed a way to finance this country and this government. So they knew that slavery would do it. So it was a concerted decision by them. But then, as time went on, a lot of other factors started to filter in, and money and greed, being those two main factors. And then once people got, then it just kept on going and it snowballed. Because at first it was just supposed to be a way to finance the country. And at first, obviously the first slaves weren't even African. So that's what I'm trying to tell you. It's like you have to know your history, and that's why they don't want to teach you history, and they don't want you to know these things. It's because of the fact of most of this stuff is just unfounded and untrue. So anyway, my endorsement is of Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. Biden Harris all the way. Vote blue. We love you, but we still, I don't. It doesn't matter about the whole thing. I'm for democracy, freedom, and capitalism. That's what I like. Love you. Fastest 15 minutes is up.